Okay, so now in this video, we're going to go through and we're actually going to add those skills that will properly set the monster to clean themselves up. If I can figure out how to click, go in here, load the database. And now we're going to go to skills. And actually, we can set this as a skill or a magic. It really doesn't matter. It's just how you want to organize your information and what do you want this to be able to use MP from the monster or skill points from the monster. It just depends on how you want to set this up. I'm actually going to go in here and I'll set it as a skill. We're going to create a new skill. We're going to call it, I shall call it Love Kiss. All right, so Love Kiss needs a icon. I'm just gonna leave that by itself. This needs a power, and since I know that this ability does multiple hits per frame of animation, I'm actually need to weaken its power damage. The power is actually used as a multiplier of the calculated stats for that monster's level. So if they do a magic attack, it will take their magic attack and the magic defense of the enemy, blah blah blah, and will actually get a solid number, which is the power of an attack. That power of attack can be multiplied by the actual mod level of the move. So if we have it at 0, this ability would do no damage because it's being modified all the way down to 0. If we take it to 100, that means you're going to get 100% of the damage that is calculated for your magic power. Since I know this is kind of overpowered for this character, I'm actually going to dwarf this down to about a 30% since she does it about 8 times within an animation. So that way, this attack would be applied multiple times during a small window. I'm going to give it a TP cost. I'm gonna apologize for this early right now. I've used TP, KP, SP throughout the code. I've tried to go back and actually make sure I change everything over to SP, but apparently I missed this. I will make sure I change this as well. But if I've missed any other place, TP, SP, and KP are all just a fancy term for the skill points that are used to actually use a skill or an ability or kinetic points. But okay, so I'm gonna make it a cost of 10. I'm gonna go in here and get the animation montage. Differently from the actual classes, this actually uses a link directly to the actual animation information for this ability. So since I can't see any reason to have a blueprint class for this type of this skill, and it seems that the animation montage can actually encapsulate everything that we need to do for a specific attack, including triggering events for damage, playing particles, playing sound, all within the animation. I'm using just the base animation as the actual trigger for a given skill or a given spell, and then the logic for that could be embedded within the frame of the animation. I've been told before that you should never put game logic in the animation side, but I've seen tutorials from Epic themselves that's put gaming logic and damage logic in the animation. Maybe it's something that's carried over from the UDK world where they said not to do this, but until I actually find a reason to change this mythos, I'm keeping it this way, and it seems to actually work pretty smoothly and pretty well with actually applying damage, getting the logic that I need, um, calculating damage, calculating everything else I need to do within an animation. So if we come in here, we will have the Fire Kiss. And if we play the animation, we should see the power up and attack of this animation. If you go down here, we'll see the actual feedback animations that give the that call the functions for applying magic damage and doing a trigger for the beginning, the actual beginning of the attack and the actual ending of attack. Right now, the fire damage on and fire damage off, I don't think does anything before it actually generated the particles. But an issue that actually caused with handling the particles that way is if the animation is interrupted, the particles actually stay attached to the mouth. So since you can actually spawn particles and things like that within the animation itself, it automatically handles cleaning up of any kind of particles that are left over and any kind of residual sound effects and particle hoopla. It cleans it up pretty well, and that's another reason why I tried to put as much stuff as I could in the actual things that Epic gave us. So this is the particle. It spawns it within that. If you stop the animation for any reason, it's going to clean it all up. If I wanted sound or some kind of like her going or something like that while she was doing that, I could put that in there and it would stop just fine when you stop the animation. Or she took like feedback damage that interrupted her attack. Just little things like that. But all that just to say that I'm using animation montage for skills and abilities, and this is how I'm calculating everything and damage and all of that. So if we copy the KISS reference, we can put it in here. This will take the string when this is loaded into the engine. It will take the string and actually convert it to the actual blueprint path where this is and get the actual reference handle to the blueprint itself. So same thing for if I got an icon, I would get the actual link to the image itself. The issue, because this information is not stored in a character that's in a map, since it's not stored in a widget anywhere, when you do a normal bake, this information will not be saved. I think I've said this in another video, but this is why we have the ability to bake the directory. Anything that is baked or anything that is dynamic data, you would want to leave it in the RPG Engine TK folder. And what this does is this is the housing of all dynamic data. Anything that you need to bake needs to be in here. So that way, when you actually go to publish your game, that information will be baked out. After we do this, I can actually show you an example of what you need to set up to do that baking. It's not really complicated or hard or anything. You just have to know about it and know that if for some reason you package your game and nothing's loading, that's because you did not bake that directory. You didn't force bake that directory. So I have my animation. I have my target. I'm going to actually say that the target is all enemies, since it's a cone shaped type of animation. If you have, for some reason, a set animation that repeats over and over again, Final Fantasy 11 kind of did this with some of their things. If you use an item, if you did an attacking spell versus a healing spell, it would be a base animation for every class that they use. If you did a charged attack, they would use the same animation for multiple classes for certain type of charged attacks. If you have anything like this, this is what you can use to trigger those animations. So that way, if you for some reason you don't have to use, if you don't want to use a specific animation for this ability, you can use the cast animation type to be able to have some kind of switch trigger in your code to be able to play a given animation for a given theme of animation. So I'm going to leave that none since I actually have an animation. We want to do this every n amount of turns. And since this is all active, the n amount of turns is how many every time that the NPC comes back to say, okay, I just did an attack. What I'm going to do next. So it can be every thought process of the actual NPC, which can change depending on the level of complexity that you have in your decision making, how long your actual attacks are for your different monsters. But this is just to give a pseudo time cue. It's not time based since it's turn based. A pseudo cue on how often this is going to happen. You can actually change it to seconds. So if you want to be able to be, if you want this to be timed, so that every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, I'm going to come in here and say, okay, my 10-second timer has expired. I have this ability up. It's ready whenever you need to use it. You can set that from here. Also, if you want to trigger things based on life percentages, and this goes from anywhere between 100% down to 0%, you can trigger that, and that will become available whenever the enemy's HP falls under that. And this one is actually handled a little bit differently to make sure that you don't have that ability reoccurring over and over again. Usually things that are HP based are single instances. So you want that to activate only once. So right now we're just going to come in here. We're going to change this to turns, and every 5 turns, this may be too fast, I want to activate this fire kiss. I want to say that this is a cone animation. I'm not really doing anything for this, but if you want to set up some kind of triggers for the different types, you can. And I'm going to give the skill a distance. So I'm going to say this can reach out to like 1,000 length to be able to damage. And it can be used by the fire sprite. The status element is just a plain damage type. And it has no beneficial stats along with it. This can be auto learned. I'm going to set this to automatically learned by the character, which is the actual fire sprite. And I'm going to give it a description, which is not really needed. So now that I have this saved, and since I don't know if I can live through too many hits, I'm going to change that to 1. So now if I load this up, I'll go over here. Loading my NPCs. Now let me go find one. See if she uses the move. She's missing. She sent me for 29, and I'm dead. Okay. Wow. She hits pretty hard. I'm going to have to tweak some of these real quick. I think I'm out of time for this video, but we can do the tweaks and things in the next video.